Recording in progress.
Okay, so we are getting started here today. We are on chapter 11, section 6 of A Course in Miracles. This book. It's just the front cover because it fell off. That's how long I've had it. Or how much I use it. The front cover's off. So now, I make up my own book. I'm just kidding. Okay. Let me see. Let me let people in. You move this. Just give it another second. All right. So I really like this chapter. This chapter, as I was meditating before this call here today, first I just want to say that it's such an honor and a privilege. I've spoken to so many people about A Course in Miracles and why I do these calls, and it's probably the most proud thing that I'm doing. And we've been doing this for the last 7 years, and so this is really a space where we are creating what we want to see in the world, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm excited to see what A Course in Miracles will reveal to us today and what shares open up for everyone here. So we're going to dive into chapter 11, section 6, Walking to Redemption. This passage really is calling for us to step out of the shadows of our guilt and our shame into the light of our true identity, which is really what the Course is constantly doing. The Course is always presenting this case for us. Here, what do you really want? I'm telling you that you are an extension of God, and everything that you are of love and peace is your true nature, and you're telling yourself that you are not, and you are something smaller, and you keep creating chaos and worries and anxieties in your life. No matter what you chase, it seems to return to the same thing. So we'll be patient. The Holy Spirit says that the Holy Spirit will be patient and will wait for us, but remembers the truth for us. And redemption, redemption is not something that we need to achieve through effort, or even penance or any of those things. We don't have to do anything, right? Redemption is not something we have to do. We don't have to struggle. We don't have to, work towards redemption. It's not something we have to do. It's it's not a reward. It's not a reward for going into suffering. I always say I've done a lot of suffering in my life, and I've had a lot of pain. And suffering, the Course says, is not really necessary. And there is no reward for going through it. Now, you may come to some sort of awakening, but once you've learned it once, you don't need to go and learn it again, the Course says. So why do we keep doing it? All right. Again, this is something that is really... The Course goes really high level and then also meets us where we're at. So, as I'm sharing this, you may say, well, suffering serves its purposes and all that. Yes. On one level it does, on another level it doesn't. So we'll constantly be going back and forth between the two, because the goal of the Course, for me in my life, is to remember God, remember heaven, and then still be able to meet the world where it's at, meet myself where I'm at, my little self, little Alex, where he's at. So it's not something, redemption, again, is not something that we have to receive someday when we've done enough suffering or healing or whatever, or we have to prove ourselves worthy. This is a kind of a vulnerable share, but also nothing wrong with the experience of this. I've been really diving into why I do all these things. Why I lead calls, why I lead real estate, journeys, why I want to bring people to, financial independence, spiritual independence, or freedom. And, a part of me, when I'm in my clear mind, see, the same thing is happening, right? The same thing is happening. One God, remembering Holy Spirit and Jesus' mind, says, this is your function. This is your purpose in life, is to shed light onto others and share your knowledge and connect and be a vessel and be a channel for God. The other voice says, what is this significance that you're chasing after? What is it that you want to prove to the world and prove to yourself? Right? So the same thing vacillates with two thought systems. One makes me feel smaller and one makes me feel grander. And so this is what the Course is showing us, is that there are really only two thought systems in anything. And one of the passages, one of the quotes in the Course of Miracles in this chapter that we will read, which is beautiful and amazing, is that God doesn't forgive because he never condemned. Forgiveness is unnecessary if condemnation never happened. How interesting is that, right? So, the redemption is already ours. We've never gone anywhere. It has never actually been taken away. The only question is, will we accept it for ourselves? And the ego, which is the one that says, oh, what is it that you have to prove? What is the significance? Making it bad, making it wrong, and judging it. Making me want to play smaller. So, just wanted to share, even I have those thoughts going back and forth constantly. So the ego insists that we must replay our past, hold on to the past, live our mistakes over and over again, and really, with all this stuff, all these things happening with Love and I, it's been such a profound experience. And what I realized was, these next 6-8 months that Love and I are going through this dissolution of our marriage, I'm realizing that as we're healing our wounds, of our relationship, we see what's possible, and then our mind goes back to being afraid of what if we go back to a certain pattern that doesn't work. So the ego wants us to define our lives and ourselves by our wounds. It tells us that we're separate from everyone else and that we must do this alone, and somehow we have to earn back the love that we believe we lost. And so the Course makes it clear that God never condemned us, and there's nothing actually to atone for. The only thing we ever need to redeem from is the illusion of the shame and guilt and the wounds that we created in our own minds. So again, in this section, in this chapter, which we will read, it's this passage immediately shifts any not enough conversations that I have, or any shame and guilt that I carry. It says that God does not forgive because he has never condemned. And there must be condemnation before forgiveness is necessary. It's just such a powerful line, and I think I'm gonna print that out and put it on my fridge. I've been collecting a bunch of quotes that I've been reading in the chapters now. So this is really one of the radical teachings of A Course in Miracles, is that God does not forgive because he never judged us in this first place. Forgiveness is then not something we must seek from God, but is something that we must extend to ourselves, and something that we have to remember. It's the pathway, it's the bridge that allows us to return home, to return back to truth and peace, that brings that clarity and certainty that we were never separate from love anyways. So walking to redemption means letting go of the past. The Course actually tells us that the past is over, it can touch me not. unless I choose to, unless I choose to let it, you know. And so how often do we continue to carry on stories of the past that defines us, the guilt and the shame and the fights and the arguments and the wounds that, you know, we carry from our relationships, or a old version of us. You know, sometimes it's funny because I have a hard time reading or watching things that I've done in the past, because I'm like, that's totally not even mean anymore. You know, even if it was something really great, it's like I've evolved from that 10-minute ago Alex. You know, I believe that the way I came into this call here today is not going to be the Alex that leaves this call. So I hope you guys can see that as a possibility for yourselves too. And yeah, so instead of constantly playing what we did wrong, we can fully to step into this present moment where only love exists, and allow love to transform the experience of ourselves, so that we may leave with a little bit more of redemption, which is just the remembering. It's not something we have to seek or do. We don't have to, you know, suffer a whole bunch and learn a whole bunch of things before we receive redemption. Redemption has always been ours, because judgment and condemnation never actually happened, you know. So the ego insists on telling us that if we let go of the ego, then we won't really learn our lessons. It's almost like we get addicted to these lessons. That if we stop projecting guilt, or if we stop punishing ourselves, we're going to repeat our mistakes. So this is the ego's great deception. And the truth of all of this is that we actually do not need to suffer to learn. We only need to love. And that reminds me of like that really great quote. I can't even remember who it's by, but it's in my buddy Clint's book. When he opens it, is that I did not come to teach you, I came to love you, and love will teach you. You know, so we can learn through love, or we can learn through pain and suffering and all that. And somehow we tend to think that the suffering part gives us more lessons. Yeah. Good morning, welcome. So the Holy Spirit teaches us that in love that we can learn, and it's not in punishment, it's not in guilt, it's not in suffering. So if we are willing, the Holy Spirit will guide us back, you know, without the weight of guilt, without feeling shame, without feeling fear. And actually, we need not have pain. So, you know, we can really, really learn. If we want to learn through joy and laughter and excitement and enthusiasm, we can do that, you know. And so we'll reflect on the question of like, what guilt, what judgments, what traumas, what past stories are we still carrying that is really what's truly keeping us from redemption or remembering. All right. So the only thing that is really ever holding us back is our unwillingness to let go. My friend Michael DeSanti wrote a children's book about this monkey, that the monkey just needs to let go of the rope. You know, it's actually not the rope, it's the banana, I think, or something like that. But you know, a monkey the way you trap a monkey is you put a banana in the box with like a hole, you know, and the monkey will stick its hand in, but once it grabs the banana, it won't, like, its hand is stuck because it can't get it back out. And so all the monkey really has to do is drop the banana, you know, and his hand will come through the hole. So all we have to do for our redemption is not to hold on to our pain and our sufferings, but is really just let go of all of that, you know, and our hand will come back through. So as we move into today's discussion and going to today's reading, actually, I would love to share something with everybody here. The other night I had this really epic conversation with Love for like 2.5 hours. We were just going back and forth. It was super heavy. We could not return to Love no matter how hard we tried. And 2 hours, 40 minutes in, after that, we finally, like, she said something that was just really, that landed so much so that it completely dissolved everything. She was like, I don't want to have to ever apologize for how I feel, you know? And I was like, oh my God, whoa. That was because I was trying to shift her from this place of sadness to a place of like joy or something like that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was talking about was playing out in that in the scenario. So yeah, I decided to write on that. So I would love to just share that with you guys. And I like to share as I get inspired to write different things, and this is part of the book The Lazy Lover. And I know that I'm writing like 4 different books, but whatever inspiration comes, and I just want to share with you guys just a little quick reading of what I wrote in this chapter. So yeah. So this is actually in chapter 4 of the book. I've been working on this book for a couple of weeks now, but I've been really inspired to write. Yeah, so chapter 4, the deepest calling of a man and a woman. Across culture and history. Wait, just move this. Our Zoom is in the way. I'll just read it over here. Okay. So across our culture and history, the roles of men and women have been distinct yet interconnected. This chapter is going to explore the deepest calling and purpose for both. Both men, it's about service and worship and being the ultimate provider and protector. For women, it's about being seen, being heard, and being worshipped, allowing them to step into their goddess, priestess calling. And together we're going to uncover these roles, how they complement and elevate each other. So it starts with defensiveness is one of the most damaging dynamics in our relationship. It was a silent force creeping into every conversation, keeping us stuck in cycles of misunderstanding and emotional distance. I had no idea how much my own resistance to her emotion was creating distance between us until our last phone call, a single transformative conversation. The call lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes. It began like so many others, filled with frustration and familiar patterns. I was trying to shift her experience to change how she felt, to fix what she was expressing. I told myself I was helping, that my intention was noble, but really was far less flattering. I was resisting her reality, refusing to acknowledge the validity of her feelings, because doing so made me feel uncomfortable. And then in a moment of honesty, she says something that pierced through my defenses. I should not have to feel bad about what I share. Those words struck me like lightning bolt. I realized with clarity how often I made her feel exactly that, bad for expressing her truth. My defensiveness, my need to explain, justify, or redirect was not actually helping or protecting me. It was just invalidating her. I was pushing her further away. Every time I argued or deflected, I was telling her, your feelings don't matter as much as my comfort. And in that moment, I saw the damage that I had done in our relationship. We all want to be seen, and we all want to be heard. It is a fundamental human need, as vital as food and water. When we are not seen, when our truth is ignored or minimized, we retreat. We build walls, we build armors around ourselves in defensiveness, because fear takes over, and fear is the enemy of connection. What I learned that day is that validation has the power to dissolve those walls. Validation isn't about agreeing or fixing. It's about saying, I see you, I hear you, and your feelings are valid. So for years, I have been resisting her experience. When she shared her truth, I would rationalize, shift the focus back to myself, or argue my perspective and bring A Course in Miracles into it. My resistance was a subtle way of saying, you're wrong for feeling that way, but what you resist persists. And my resistance didn't resolve anything. It only entrenched her pain. By refusing to hear her, I was reinforcing the very dynamic of what was tearing us apart. During the call, something shifted. I stopped resisting. I stopped trying to fix. I stopped focusing on how her words made me feel and started focusing on what she was feeling. I listened. I really listened. And I validated her experience. I let her know that I saw her pain and her emotions were real and worthy of acknowledgement. And in that moment, her experience and her tone changed. Her defensiveness also melted away. She felt heard, and maybe for the first time in a very long time. And in that space of understanding, we found connection again. This was the beginning of me understanding my role as a man in its truest sense. A man's deepest calling is to serve from a place of integrity and love, to show up as a leader not by force but by example, and to create the container where his partner can feel safe, cherished, and free to express herself. When a woman feels seen and valued, she steps into her brilliance, her genius, and when she does, she elevates the entire relationship. The essence of worship, as I've come to learn, is not about adoring in a shallow sense. It's about reverence. It's about showing your partner that they are sacred to you, that their emotions, thoughts, and presence are actually treasures. And for me, this understanding was the antidote to years of defensiveness and ego-driven behavior. It wasn't easy to confront how far I have strayed from this ideal, but it truly is necessary in this moment. As I reflected on that phone call, I realized how much lighter she felt after being truly seen. But it wasn't just hearing her, it was healing for me too. Validating is not just a one-way street. It creates connection, trust, and intimacy for both people. It allows wounds to be acknowledged and eventually to heal. It creates the bridge between partners that fear and defensiveness often shows up. Looking back, I see how often I failed to show up for her in this way. I had let my own discomfort and insecurity guide my responses. And in doing so, I had invalidated her reality time and time again. This realization was painful but necessary. It was a step towards growth, not just in our relationship, but for myself. Our deepest calling as men and women is to elevate each other. It's to create a partnership where we can do so and step into our highest potential. For men, this often means stepping into service, not servitude, but a deep purposeful commitment to holding space for the growth and flourishing of those that we love, that we say we love. For women, it's about stepping into their power and allowing themselves to be fully seen and celebrated. Together, these roles can create a dynamic for both that is both transformative and fulfilling. The lesson I learned that day is simple and profound. So just to listen to your partner. True listen. Don't defend, deflect, or dismiss. Don't try to fix or explain. Just be present with the feeling. Hear them, see them, validate their truth. The moment you stop resisting this experience, the moment you create space for transformation. That call changed so much for me. It showed me the power of validation, the importance of listening, and the healing that comes from being truly present. It taught me that love isn't about fixing or changing someone. Love is just about seeing them, hearing them, and honoring their truth. And for that lesson, I am profoundly grateful. So that was that chapter. I just wanted to share that. I just felt really there's a level of clarity that came through to me, and all of my own fears disappeared, because I wasn't validating I wanted a certain result or a certain outcome, and if I didn't have it, I usually try to, shift the experience or bring some teachings of A Course in Miracles and all that. And I've always said this, A Course in Miracles is, when we study it, it's a one-way street. Okay, that means 100% responsibility is on us in relationships. If we see it that way, it's not like if somebody else had just read the Course or try to project the teachings of A Course onto somebody, because when somebody is not ready for it and somebody's not asking for it, we are not honoring ourselves or them. We're totally just wasting that time. So yeah, thank you for for hearing that chapter. I want to continue to share different chapters of things that I write, because when I finally, and it's going to happen this year, finish a couple of these books, I want you guys to be the first ones to have them. All right. Okay, so what's up, guys? That was my opening. 27 minutes long. Does anybody have anything that you want to share, and what's on your mind and what feels alive for you? Yeah, please do share and help us, learn things from the course. You can.
Hey Alex, it's Carla.
Carla, whoa, hey,
How's it going?
good.
Been away for a little bit.
You have been. It's good
Um,
to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really, really profound what you just shared. Yesterday, actually, I posted on my Instagram a reel of a man speaking to exactly what your realization with love was. In the first 5 seconds of a conversation between a man and a female, right, or like masculine and feminine, that when she's expressing her words, if the man is just willing to not have an agenda and be present and give with his eyes, give with his curiosity, give with his facial expression, and give with his heart,
Mm.
it really just allows the woman or the feminine to surrender into love, into going into that sixth sense of love, connection, and heart expressiveness that us females can tend to. So yeah, thank you for that realization. Thank you for stepping into that, because we know that we are all one, right? We know that we are all connected. That's what the course teaches us. We look like we're fragmented and that we're separate, but we really are not.
Mm-hmm.
And so this expansion of your realization of your consciousness, you're really bringing that out into the world and into the one mind of Christ. And it's so beautiful to have men and women realize that we can do this. So this is not just for men. I think that it's wonderful that a masculine man can realize this and step into this, but also the feminine gets to do it as well, right? If we are requesting our men to show up with love and curiosity and non-judgment, to create that safe container for us to really express our rage or to express fear or whatever that may look like, we get to be the same for our men. So as I was listening to you, I was thinking about how do I get to also show up that way in my relationship, not just for myself, but for my partner.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you. Thank you for sharing that, because it's really what I feel like it's a new step in society for us, and how we love and accept each other and how important it is for relationships. So, yeah, I'm complete. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And as you were sharing that, I kind of feel like this book might also need a female author on the other end, right? I kind of just had a vision of, as I'm sharing each chapter, there is my perspective and what I share, and then also exactly what you shared. So, um,
Mm.
I don't know. I just wanted to drop that. I don't know where this what that would go, but maybe you and I get to talk about that a little bit deeper and
Oh,
connect
yeah.
a little more.
Super open to that, absolutely.
Cool. Um, Josie, what's up? Are you in
What's up,
Egypt? Where
Alex?
are you?
I am. I'm in Egypt.
Oh,
I
thank you
was
for
sharing
tuning
a little
in.
bit of that. Yeah, I was sharing a little bit of that beautiful sunset that happens every single day here in Egypt, and I feel very blessed to be able to do that. So, I've been trying to catch your Course in Miracles. Zoom every week, or yeah. And I see my boy here, Eric. Eric Ballas, one of my buddies from ML, and he's the one who told me you were doing this, and I never knew, and now I'm really excited that I can link up. But this, I want to talk about what you're saying right now, because you know, that this is landing for me in a huge way. And as you were sharing, one of the things that I think really revealed itself was like, here I am, right? I'm a woman that I'm sure of, and I am a mask presenting in my community would be like mask presenting, but I don't feel that way, right? I don't feel that way in my internal conversation is one that is very fluid in my masculine and feminine. And being here in Egypt and studying the ancient teachings of Egypt, um, there's a real connection between the masculine and the feminine, and it's not about being male or female gender based. So for me, what was coming up was, I'm like, yeah, but I want to feel that way too. I want to feel heard. I want to feel, and but if I'm the mask in the relationship, then I'm, leaning towards your angle, having to sit there and listen from a place of not needing to fix everything or gear it or lead it. And yeah, like you said, you're teaching a course in miracles where everything is our responsibility. And when you come from that place, it's hard to not just empathize or have compassion for your partner, because you're thinking to yourself, well, you're in partnership with me, you know where I'm coming from, so don't you get it, kind of thing. It's also about what you're saying about just sitting there with it, sitting there with all of those emotions that are telling you, oh, I can fix this. Okay. Oh, I know a good passage for this. Oh yeah, I know a great example of this. Oh, I know that quote that could just turn this all around. I know this, and I know this. And it doesn't come from volition. It comes from a place of like a true desire, at least for me, has come from a true desire to want to help. But in these wonderful 8 months that I've also had in on the path of dissolution of my marriage and the ending of a relationship, I realized that my need to even offer that quote, my need to to bring the two relations together, to make everything, to put it into this nice tidy little box that I can understand, was exactly that. Is that it was my inability to understand it through the filter that I'm listening. And the practice here is that selflessness, that surrender, that end to the resistance of listening in a way that you're just listening. Whether you understand, whether you have the answers, you have the fix it all, whatever it is, that is in this place of listening. And it's the little Josie who was never heard. It's the little Josie that says, hey, wait, you guys stop fighting. I know what's going on here. This is what's happening. And that is, whew, that's the deep shit right there, excuse my French, but that's the deep stuff, Alex. And I see you, brother. And I know love, and I see you both. And I can just hope that through this process that you guys are having with each other, that you guys see each other in this space, and that you can see the little yous there, fighting to be seen and heard. And I hope that in this process and through your teachings that you find the grace for yourself to recognize that this is all perfectly designed and that this is exactly how you're meant to get here and have these difficult conversations to reveal all of this stuff. And I feel very grateful to hear your messages each week because they've been really landing, my brother. So thank you. And I love you both, okay?
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And it's interesting because when we read something like this too, the nature of our 3D world and separation and duality that comes always goes into, well, we're both studying this. Well, you know, and I know, and you know how I feel, and we just keep wanting to place the ego's like, play a little smaller, be the victim for once. You deserve the sympathy. You deserve to be heard. You deserve this, and then so the ego turns it around. And when we read anything and when we study anything, can we be like, yes, we deserve it, and I deserve it, and I get to play the feminine role, and I get to play the masculine role, because really, the Course says the child of God is just one. And it's you and you. So when we can, all of our problems are rooted in the idea that duality or separation exists. And if we can bring our minds, all minds are joined, right? Like I think Carla earlier said, all minds are joined, meaning what I give, I receive back to myself because this is part of the sonship. What I give, I am living into my purpose and my function of sharing the light. And as someone else receive, I receive also, just in that giving. Oftentimes we can say thank you for asking, because it gives me the opportunity to give, because in the giving we also can receive. It gives us an opportunity to learn as well. So yeah, thank you, Josie. Tina on Facebook, hi Tina, says wanting to fix also comes from a place of being right, and we need to lean into I don't know what I don't know. Yes, which is like God knows, I don't know. So it's to humble ourselves down. What comes to mind is the gratitude training. We were to meet people where they're at. Yep. Defense comes from taking offense. Sure, not what the Bible says. Yeah. Okay. So my peace, my salvation rests in my defenselessness. Truth needs no defense. And the Course constantly goes back and forth into that, right? No offense was ever given. You just seem to be seeing that you were attacked. And it can stem from your shirt. It can stem from your shirt is ugly to you're a bitch to, whatever is more extreme than that.
It said by signing in, doing the homework, when you're signing in, doing homework, that's how it checks your attendance. So you need to do shit.
Thanks, Brooke.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. I thought it was something. It sounded like something that was really profound that was coming through. It must be.
No,
I'm just
my
kidding.
daughter has a virtual class, and she's trying to sign into this classroom, and she called me upstairs. I was on the phone. I was like, oh, so sorry, y'all.
No, you're good. All right. Where was I? Anyways, we'll go into the reading. Does anybody have anything else you want to share? I really love today's chapter. It's not very long, but it's so good. Oh, wait, we never got... Marianne didn't come and bless us, so... Anybody else would like to share something before a year of miracles and Marianne blessed us with her powerful words? Aw. Really good. All right, I guess I will. I do want to share and I don't. Well, when you feel like you're ready to, you can share your do's and your don'ts. I'm always excited to hear you share. Okay, fine. Day 318. Today, may I be a better mate, friend, parent, employer, employee. Whatever role I play in life, I am there to be more and do more than than appears. While the ego focuses in any situation on my needs as I define them, my only true need is to be the most shining light I can be. As I increase my own giving, a greater generosity, deeper understanding, and more loving attitude towards others, my life will be thereby blessed. May I participate today in all my relationships from a more healed and holy place. May I view each role I play as God intended it to be, the avenue through which miracles pour into me and through me. May I not limit my perceptions today to the drama of the mortal plane, but rather see every relationship as a holy one. What'd you say over here, Brooke? About suicide, since different religions as you go to be with enemy, hell. Okay, so 2 levels of suicide. One, because we see the body, and because we see separation, and we see death as something that is negative, right? We see death like is bad. Oh, sorry, Kayla, I already closed the book. Meh. But in the replay, I think I said day something. So on one level, like here in the mortal plane, suicide is really sad, right? And it gives us an opportunity to learn if we allow the Holy Spirit to take it. Like instead of us trying to understand about suicide, we say, I actually don't know what's happening right now in front of me, because we're going to make up a whole ton of stories to that suicide, right? So if we don't, and we give it over to God and the Holy Spirit to show us a different way to look at it, perhaps it will change our experience around it. Now, on the level of heaven and truth, there is no such thing as death. There is no separation, and we are not our bodies. Then suicide can't actually even happen. You know, it's like, what happens when a...
Recording stopped.
Oh, interesting. It's like and it's also the level of what we value, right? It's like humans are up here, and then there are like animals and insects and whatever other smaller organisms and different cells, you know. When those things die or when those things commit suicide or something, like we give no mind to, right? So it's also like we can look at our attachment to things and what it means for suicide. But we do live here in this mortal plane, and you know, the practice is to forgive, and not like you forgive that someone did something wrong or that the person committed suicide or people were not supportive enough or you didn't reach out enough. Not to forgive any of those things, because there was no sin, I guess, that happened, or no condemnation that happened there. But to forgive the fact that we forgot that we are in our bodies. We forgot to be a channel to God. You know, that in this moment, we can use this as an opportunity to give something this heavy over to God, deepening our connection to the divine. Because that's our only challenge, and our only ever... Anytime we experience grievance or pain is because we forgot our connection to God, right? Because if we truly, truly are connected to God and the divine, that all things are happening not by accident, purposeful, God's plans, we can rest and have peace in that. But when we lose our peace over it, it's because in this moment, somehow God made a mistake, and when we're shutting God off and we're looking in the mortal plane only. And everything in the mortal plane brings us to more pain and more suffering. Unless we can use it to deepen our connection to God and the Holy Spirit. So that's my thoughts on that. If anybody else has any thoughts on it, feel free to chime in. It's a very hard conversation to have. It's kind of like saying, it's also like talking about same thing as like human trafficking, things like that. We have to meet our pains where we're at, which is on the mortal plane, and to bring it into like, here, just give it over to God, can seem like it's just some sort of bypassing. But as long as you realize that there are lessons there, and ultimately the lesson is your connection to God has been disconnected. That you thought somehow we're separate. You thought that you're your body. So that's the highest form of our awakening to that. And the rest can be, I can reach out to people more. You can use those lessons to, be kinder to people in your life and the words that come out of your mouth. So there's different levels of learning. But ultimately the highest level is to find our connection to God. Okay, and that's probably a really good segue into walking to redemption. Does anybody have anything else you guys want to share before we go into that? Chapter 11. Oh, Kayla, you were asking what chapter the reading today is. Not okay, never mind. Thanks, Tasnova. Okay, before I go into the read, did you want to share, Tasnova?
Well, I was looking for what I was reading from Ram Dass's Be Here Now. I've been like rigorously reading that for the first time in my life. I've had this book for like a million years. I mean, however many years I'm old. And there was a section that there was just like a short mention about suicide. I was just trying to find it so I could read it. That was just speaking about, well, throughout the book, it's speaking about the karmic path and, a lot of the Course in Miracles teachings are spoken in here in a different way. And then in the suicide part, just really mentioned that, we're, as souls, we're all here to carry through and renunciate certain karmas to like really come to the center of us and reunite with God and live as vessels. These are more my words, the way I understood. And then as in terms of suicide, what happens according to this book is that like the opportunity to clean and clear out those, purify those karmas, to really return gets like cut off for that time and so the opportunity to work through those karmas that they began to work on in this life gets cut off, that they can't work on until they have another body. So I wanted to share that for you, Brooke. I'm not really sure if there's a specific part you were wanting to know about, but I did want to find that and share it since I read it just last night. And just I'm just mostly listening. I don't really know what to share, except that it's still challenging to take responsibility and not feel like I am fighting for the feelings of being heard, and sometimes at a cost, of the other person not feeling heard. And I'm on that journey of continuing to surrender it over to God, so I really understand. Maybe just even for now, like go deeper into myself and my center and what the teachings mean for me to like and really understand it, instead of trying to really get it right now,
Yeah.
Maybe I understand enough to keep going and not necessarily to have the breakthrough, and I'm just kind of accepting that in this conversation right now.
Yeah, thank you. And Ram Dass and Be Here Now is really about the possibility of the present moment. That like our attachments to our ego, our identity, and the course talks about this as well. Like the idea of who you are is an idea to be let go of, your identity. And so the Ram Dass says in there too, it's like our suffering comes from the attachment to our ego, to our identity, to our philosophy, which kind of goes back to this attack and defense thing, and that liberation and freedom, like from suffering, happens in the present moment if you can be here now. So like even when we experience like pain and suffering, it's because we are resisting what is. Like we're trying to hold on to a past moment. So if we can surrender to like right now, right here, right now, with all of us, everything, every part of us, just saying, "I am be here right now." When I read that book, it was I just took one message away. Like everything happens in the present moment, and it's kind of like a Course of Miracles too, and suffering is real in this lower realm of bodies and stuff. Yeah. Janice, hello.
Hello, and hello everyone. Wow, thank you so much. Your book is, I can't wait till it's done. Like what you shared, and I noticed the women really answered on it too. So yeah, you really it landed for the women. I think I don't. I mean, I can't speak for the men, so. But so I actually wrote things down because there's so much I wanted to say. Um, First of all, I did want to speak about the suicide thing. Um, so so I think that because our culture views everything in duality, and especially enemy versus friend, it's hard for us to connect, and I think therein lies one of the biggest problems that people have, that can drive them, is lack of connection. Because I think that in lack of connection, there is any other issue that a person has can be helped through connection. And when the person that committed suicide, viewing the world in this traditional way of right and wrong, friend or foe, angel or demon, when they're viewing the world in that way, it's easy to just see demons coming at them instead of friends, and unfortunately, that's not going to be helped if they're alone too, because they have nobody to bounce things off of, or if they're in communion with others who have a negative mindset. And this is our society, is a negative mindset. Suicide has been on the rise, if anything. And I've found personally that, through connection, it's changed my life, and when I connect with others, and getting to that point hasn't been easy, because I do go through that duality, and Alex, this is what you were talking about in your book too, uh, of like of duality too, because when we think that, so when somebody is sharing, and I do this all the time, when somebody is sharing something that's vulnerable or that's a problem, and we're just like, oh well, I got the answer for that. And Josie was sharing this too, and that's a great share, Josie. But that's duality too. It is basically we're saying, well, I have the answer and you don't, because you're going through whatever you're going through. But it's not that easy. Obviously, that's what you were saying in your book. Basically, is like all we really need to do is be quiet and allow them to be, and that's not the easiest thing, because for us, we grew up in whatever situation we did. For me, I grew up in a situation where I was always the fix-it person. I was the fix-it person of everybody. So in relationships, and this was like when I was a kid, I was doing this. So that was just the role I played, and everybody has a role that they play, that they're kind of put in. I'm an empath, so I naturally gravitated to that position. So, wow, I hope this is this share is making sense. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, I feel like all of those things have to do with duality, and until we're able to see everyone, people that we think are miserable people, people that we think are just needing our help, it's kind of like missionaries that go into this was way back, I don't know how it is now, but when missionaries would go into areas that had that people were practicing their traditional ways, missionaries went in saying, oh well, we got to help these poor people. These poor people are like, going to the devil. And then they'd go in and they'd push their idea onto this population and obliterate tradition there, obliterate a culture, so that's duality. That's like, who is there? They really have in their minds, I am helping. I know I have the answer, I have the way, but how much are they really helping when the people were just doing great before, and why are they helping something that doesn't need to be helped? And that's the hardest thing in conversation, is to not help what you think needs to be done in conversation, or just in general. So and one last thing is, like, I love that book, Be Here Now. That was one of the first spiritual books I read, so way back when. So thank you. I hope that made sense. I felt like I shared on a lot of things.
Thank you. Yeah. What you landed there is that all of our problems, like the Course says, stems from the idea of separation, and that anytime that we have the idea of duality, that's when all the problems come, right? So thank you for sharing that. So I want to just read, because I want to give us a little bit of time to reflect on this chapter as well, or this section. And it's a really powerful one. So actually, you know what? I'm not even going to project onto that. The whole thing is powerful. But as we get into this section of reading, as I read this section, let's just take a couple breaths in and allow us to remove any thoughts that we've had previous to this moment. let's do the be here now practice, right? Nothing from our past is needed for the learning and understanding of this moment. This moment will teach us everything we need to know about this moment. So as I read, just try to take your entire Alex mind, or your entire mind, and wrap it up in a Santa Claus bag and put it aside on the shelf, and just see if you can listen from a place of nothingness. No need to compare, no need to judge, no need to think about anything else. We are just going to allow the words, the energies, the words behind the words to be revealed to us in thought and in pictures. Whatever comes to your mind is exactly what needs to be. And if you zone out a little bit and zone back in, that's completely fine too. There are times that I'm reading the course, and after 3 chapters, I'm like, man, I was thinking about something else. But that's okay too, because that's exactly what was needed in that moment. You can tune right back in. Every passage, every sentence, every paragraph in this book is powerful enough to stand on its own. Because the entire thing, every word in here is to remind us one thing, that you are a perfect, beautiful, innocent child of God, and all of God's power belongs to you as well. All right, so walking to redemption. It is impossible to believe what you see. It is not impossible to believe what you see, but it is equally impossible to see what you do not believe. Oof. Perceptions are built upon the basis of experience, and experience leads to beliefs. It is not until beliefs are fixed that perceptions stabilize. In effect, then, what you believe, you do see. That is what I meant when I said, "Blessed are ye who have not seen and still believe." For those who believe in resurrection will see it. The resurrection is the complete triumph of Christ over the ego, not by attack, but transcendence. For Christ does rise above the ego and all its works, and ascends to the Father and his kingdom. Would you join in the resurrection or the crucifixion? Would you condemn your brothers or free them? Would you transcend your prison and ascend to the Father? These questions are all the same and are answered together. There have been much confusion about what perception means, because the word is used both for awareness and for the interpretation of awareness. Yet you cannot be aware without interpretation, for what you perceive is your interpretation. This course is perfectly clear. If you do not see it clearly, it is because you're interpreting against it, and therefore do not believe it. And since belief determines perception, you do not perceive what it means and therefore do not accept it. Yet different experiences lead to different beliefs, and with them, different perceptions. For perceptions are learned with beliefs, and experience does teach. I am leading you to a new kind of experience that you will become less and less willing to deny. Learning of Christ is easy, for to perceive with him involves no strain at all. His perceptions are your natural awareness, and it is only the distortions you have introduced that tire you. Let the Christ in you interpret for you, and do not try to limit what you see by narrow little beliefs that are unworthy of God's Son. For until now, Christ comes into his own. The Son of God will see himself as fatherless. I am your resurrection and your life. You live in me because you live in God, and everyone lives in you, as you live in everyone. Can you then perceive unworthiness in the brother and not perceive it in yourself? And can you perceive it in yourself and not perceive it in God? Believe in the resurrection, and it has been accomplished. And it has been accomplished in you. This is as true now as it will ever be. For the resurrection is the will of God, which knows no time and no exceptions. But make no exceptions yourself, or you will not perceive what has been accomplished for you. For we ascend unto the Father together, as it was in the beginning, and now is now and ever shall be, for such is the nature of God's Son as his Father created him. Do not underestimate the power of the devotion of God's Son, nor the power of God he worships has over him. For he places himself at the altar of his God, whether it be the God he made or the God who created him. That is why his slavery is complete as his freedom, for he will obey only the God he accepts. The God of crucifixion demands that he crucify, and his worshippers obey. In his name thy crucified themselves, believe that the power of the Son of God is born of sacrifice and pain. So this is the court in here. It's lowercase God in there. It's the God that we've made. Whether it's God of money, God of whatever, pain, suffering, all those things. It demands crucify. So in this section, it's actually the God of crucifixion, anything that is to crucify and condemn. And then now the God with a capital G of resurrection demands nothing, for he does not will to take away. He does not require obedience, for obedience implies submission. He will only have you learn your will and follow it, not in the spirit of sacrifice or submission, but in the gladness of freedom. So, when I read the Course, it's constantly inspiring me. If I want to learn this, if I want to receive this, and I want to be in the presence of God, capital G-O-D, then I must practice. What I give, I remember. What I give, I receive back. Right? So I must practice to be in this way. That means it's the level of patience and a willingness to stand for something and someone in a way that is not overwhelming. And it goes back to what we were sharing here. Perhaps I should add a little more into my book here, that we don't really need to fix anything. We just have to be patient and allow people to see that themselves, because that is their true nature. You can even if somebody that you feel like they're in the wrong or need fixing, it is the fixing that is required in your mind in that moment to be able to see the Christ in this person, right? Because even in that moment of they need to change or shift something, that is a form of condemnation. So we can see in our mind, like, what we believe to be real is what we will perceive back, right? And we will project it onto them like we need something to fix. That's why when we talk about A Course in Miracles, like, this is while we read this, it's a one-way street. One, there is really nobody else out there. So one, as in the capital one, capital O, one-way street. That's a good one. All right, somebody write that down. Okay, cool. Resurrection must compel your allegiance gladly, because it is a symbol of joy. So joy is the path to returning back to God, the experience of joy. Because if we are in fear, there is nothing that can be put into place that actually helps us return home. As long as you are in fear, you will always spiral in the other direction. And by not validating somebody and that experience, we only entrench them because they feel attacked. Okay. So more things I feel like I can add to that section of my book. Its whole compelling power lies in the fact it represents what you want to be. The freedom to leave behind everything that hurts you and humbles you and frightens you cannot be thrust upon you, but it can be offered to you through the grace of God. And you can accept it by his grace, for God is gracious to his Son, accepting him without question as his own. Who then is your own? The Father has given you all of his, and he himself is yours with them. Guard them in your resurrection, for otherwise you will not awake in God, safely surrounded by what is yours forever. You will not find peace until you have removed the nails from the hands of God's Son and take the last thorn from his forehead. The love of God surrounds his Son, whom the God of crucifixion condemns. Teach not that I died in vain. This is Jesus talking to us. Teach not that I died in vain. Okay, Lisa, I love you. Teach rather that I did not die by demonstrating that I live in you. Ooh, that's a powerful one. Teach not that I died in vain. Teach rather that I did not die by demonstrating I live in you. So we can demonstrate Christ consciousness in us. For that means death did not happen. For undoing for the undoing of the crucifixion of God's Son is the work of the redemption, in which everyone has a part of equal value. God does not judge his guiltless Son. Having given himself to him, how could he be otherwise? You have nailed yourself to a cross and placed a crown of thorns upon your own head. Yet you cannot crucify God's Son, for the will of God cannot die. His Son has been redeemed from his own crucifixion, and you cannot assign to death whom God has given eternal life. The dream of the crucifixion still lies heavy on your eyes, but what you see in dreams is not reality. While you perceive the Son of God as crucified, you are asleep. As long as you believe that you can crucify him, you're having nightmares. You who are beginning to wake are still aware of dreams and have not yet forgotten them. The forgetting of dreams and the awareness of Christ comes with the awakening of others to share your redemption. You will awaken to your own call, for the call to awaken is within you. If I live in you, you are awake. Yet you must see the works I do through you, or you will not perceive that I have done them unto you. Do not set limits on what you believe I can do through you, or you will not accept what I can do for you. Yet it is done already. And unless you give all that you have received, you will not know that your Redeemer liveth, and that you have awakened with him. Redemption is recognized only by sharing it. God's Son is saved. Bring only this awareness to the sonship, for you will have a part in the redemption as valuable as mine. For your part must be like mine if you learn it of me. If you believe yours is limited, you are limiting mine. There is no order of difficulty in miracles, because all of God's sons are of equal value, and their equality is their oneness. The whole power of God is in every part of him, and nothing contradictory to his will is either great or small. What does not exist has no size and no measure. To God, all things are powerful, and to Christ it is given to be like the Father. So by redemption is recognized only by sharing it. You know, the gift and the light that has been given us, the love of the Father, the love of Christ onto us that has been given to us, is not recognized really unless we share it. Because in the level of sharing and the compassion and the kindness that we can extend to our brothers and sisters actually allows us to see the capacity that we have to love, and we realize, wow, I was given this gift. But if we don't give this love, we have no idea. You know, the more we play small, the less we see the gifts that were given to us. So this is why, you know, one of the teachings in the course is to have all, give all to all, right? To have, give all to all. And so I think that's a really powerful abundance mindset to have in realizing our own greatness and our own Christ consciousness in us. So yeah, love for the next 14 minutes that we have remaining on this call to anyone that wants to share anything from that reading. You know, and again, the course also says there's no depth to the distance that, or there's no, what is it called? There's no distance to how far you can go, like off track, and still return home within a moment. Within a moment, the holy instant, you can give it all over to God, and God will show you what it was all for. But if you're trying to figure out what it was all for yourself, then you will never see it, because you will continue to loop around And it will always just be that one little gap away from the divine, from God. So, what's up, everyone? Zachary, it's so good to see you on here. You guys know Zachary means to remember God?
It's good to be on here. I'm in the middle of getting this little one dressed after I've been gone for a few days. So
Nice.
I've been doing my best to be present in the background, also be present here. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you.
I have a lot of reflections, but
We'll get there. What else, guys? We don't have to extend this any longer than we have to, but I will also just maybe read one more thing from Marianne Williamson and see if it evokes any more conversation. If not, today has been just really a great call. Thank you guys for the opportunity to share my chapter, and to be here, like holding space for the big changes in my life that is also happening, the awakening that's also happening. I get to experience a lot of these things, which ingrains and teaches me even deeper of the lessons of A Course in Miracles. It's so funny. Like some of these ones, I just like continue to flip to them as the only, like it just flips to the same ones. Maybe I'm just running out of, a year of miracles. Maybe we've read them all. All right. Well, let's see. Day 173. My disappointments are but temporary setbacks. At any time, there might be an occurrence in which mistakes occur and sorrow results. Yet for any wrong turn, there is an automatic recalibration within the mind of God. I need only be patient and wait for a perfect universe to make right again any path that have gone wrong. I will not allow my emotions today to fall into the valley of defeat because of a temporary setback. And all setbacks are temporary. My salvation lies in an immediate change of circumstance, but in my salvation lies not in an immediate change of circumstance, but in my ability to remain positive and optimistic during times of duress. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time for myself. My salvation lies not in an immediate change of circumstance, but in my ability to remain positive and optimistic during times of duress. God is the answer to every problem the moment the problem occurs, and I wait cheerfully the miracle that is already on its way. Dear God, I surrender to you a situation that disappoints, and pray to be shown any aspects of my thinking that helped cause my sorrow. Undo the consequences of any false beliefs that put the universe at odds with my joy, and thus I may be happy again. Amen. Thanks, guys. So many extra things to be added into that chapter. Okay. Well, we are early, and that's cool. Sometimes we go a little bit later. Sometimes we go a little earlier. But I feel pretty complete. How do you guys feel? Everybody good? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be on here and making it, important enough to spend an hour and 21 minutes with me. How dare I ask for more? All right, guys. Love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on Sunday. Much blessings. Happy Wednesday.